Hello, I'm Graham Steele, CEO and founder of Cryptosense, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Java crypto roadmap from Oracle. So what are Oracle about to do with their cryptography provider? So if you use Java in a bunch of applications and you use Oracle, that is the standard Java provider and implementation, there are a bunch of changes that are going to happen in 2021 to the way cryptography is supported. And these could break some old applications. So you want to be aware of what these are and make sure your applications aren't affected. First of all, with a target date of April, Oracle is going to deprecate the versions of TLS, the old versions of the TLS SSL protocol, so version TLS 1.0 and 1.1. That means that by default, when you update your Java provider, you won't be able to run those protocols anymore. So if you have TLS being terminated through a Java application, it won't make a connection with somebody who can only do TLS 1.0 or 1.1. So that change is revertible if you want to get your hands dirty in the config files, but that's what's going to happen by default. So you'll want to be sure that you don't have any TLS 1 or 1.0 only connections happening in your environment before that point. But it's a good thing this is happening because TLS 1.0 and 1.1 have already been deprecated, for example, by PCI in the PCI DSS standards. There was a recent publication by the NSA trying to make sure that all government departments weren't using it anymore. It's definitely not a secure version of the protocol, and we should all be getting rid of it. So good to see that go. So what you want to do is make sure you've upgraded everywhere before that happens on the 21st of April in 2021 this year. The second set of changes are targeted for July 2021, the 20th of July. And there's a bunch of other interesting things in there which could break some legacy applications. So two of the changes around the way that jar verification works. So this is the part of code that makes sure that if we load a jar, we load some external Java into our Java application, that nobody has tampered with that code so that we've got a legitimate version and so on. And that's done through the jar signature system. So we verify the signatures, and there could be a chain of signatures that go back through certificates, just like as if we were connected to a TLS connection. So we verify the whole chain of certificates, and it has to come back to a root certificate from a trusted CA that's in our CA certs key store in the Java installation. So Oracle are going to make two changes to that in July 2021. One is that they are going to remove the old legacy 1024-bit keys, which are in some certificates, which are in that key store. So there's only a few of them. There's some very old VeriSign ones, for example. But it may be that you have some jars in your application whose signing chain goes back through a certificate chain up to one of these certificates, particularly if you've got some old jars you're implementing, pulling in from different places. So you'll want to check that you don't have any certificate chains going back to that. Otherwise, once those 1024-bit certs are removed, those jars will be treated as untrusted, so your application might not run. Then there's going to be another change, which is to untrust jars which only have a SHA-1 hash on their certificate, or in fact have a SHA-1 hash on any of the certificates in the chain that go back up to the root certificate. So again, that could potentially break some applications in the sense that jar will now be untrusted. So you want to check you don't have any of those in your chains. And finally, Oracle are going to update the parameters of the default key store, the PKCS 12 key store. So as you'll know, if you've watched our key store series of videos, PKCS 12 is quite a wide standard that's got quite a long history, and the ciphers that were included towards the beginning of the standard compared to the ones which you can use now, so those old ones are really legacy and old. Oracle have made some updates to that, but now the default is going to be to use pretty secure options, so it'll be using PBKDF2 to do key derivation, so that's the NIST-approved way of doing it, 10,000 iterations, which is the minimum that NIST recommend, using HMAC SHA-256 and AES-256 encryption. So that's a fairly reasonable set of standard choices. So it'll be good to adopt that, but you need to make sure that you know that's what's going on, so if those key stores are used elsewhere, that you've got the ability to decrypt those using the PKCS 12 interface of other parts of your system, and so on. So if you want to find out whether your application is loading any jars that have 1024-bit certs or whether there are any SHA-1 certs that are in there somewhere in that chain, a great way to do that is just to run the application through our Cryptosense Analyzer tool. So we will trace every operation in cryptography that your application does, and we can show you everywhere that SHA-1 is being used, or 1024-bit keys, all the keys in your key store, all the jar verification operations. You can get a real cartography of everything going on, and we can help you fix that. So get in touch if you want to do that. You'll see the link down in the comments. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel to make sure you stay up to date with crypto news here at Cryptosense, and I'll see you again soon here on the channel.